Right, good morning. My name's Eric Tatham. I'm a member of staff here in the Faculty of Technology. Following Tom's theme of apps, I'd like to talk to you about another kind of app related to Leicester's history, and that is an app on the Virtual Romans project, which has been ongoing at the university for some time. The app that I've been involved with is part of a larger project to reconstruct a virtual model of Roman Leicester. And this is a collaboration between De Montfort University and the Jury Wall Museum, with support from Leicester Arts and Museum Service and the University of Leicester Archaeological Services. The purpose of the app was to take significant Roman building models that had already been developed and put them in a location-based application that could be run on mobile devices, iPads and iPhones in particular. Added to that was not just major buildings that were here in the middle of the 3rd century AD, but some of the artifacts that in the museum. Also to provide a visitor trail around these locations and to allow viewing of these 3D artifacts and building reconstructions. And an added part of the brief here was to prototype an augmented reality system that would visually overlay these buildings and artifacts on modern day Leicester. So you could see them in the place that they were, or in the case of artifacts, where they were found. So an overview of what I hope I can cover in the time is, I'd like to talk to you a bit about some of the problems of matching the virtual world to the real world, about the modelling of the artifacts, also about the use of XML, extensible markup language, for easy updating of this. The problem that the Earth is almost spherical, slightly sort of squashed sphere, and for intents and purposes of this, Leicester is pretty flat, so we need different coordinate systems here. And then I'd like to just talk to you about some of the app features. So the main buildings in Leicester that had already been modelled and were targeted to be included in this app, the Forum, which was the Civic Centre, the Jury Wall Baths, which, as you can see in the picture here, is, I think, the most significant part of the Roman remains still existing in Leicester, the Mithraeum, which was a temple, I believe that was roughly where the Holiday Inn is now, if you are familiar with modern day Leicester. The McCallum, which was the market, and then the Vine Street Villa, which was a posh house in Roman times. And I think, disappointingly, I think it's actually under the John Lewis car park and where that is, which seems a shame, but there we are. Here's it's quite small, but I'll show you another one in a moment. The area of, the central area of the Roman city of, as it was for Leicester, was actually enclosed by a wall, and it is just to the north of where we are now. So we're just outside the city wall. And again, if you are familiar with Leicester, I think it sort of cut the ring road, the inner ring road cuts through this, and where John Lewis is fairly significantly near the centre. Am I right? Okay. So one of the first issues, well, these models were created for desktop computers, were really large, so we had to go through a process of cutting them down a little bit in terms of number of polygons, but not too much. And the other thing that is very important if you're trying to superimpose these models on the real world is to get the scale right. And SketchUp, an application for 3D modeling that you may be familiar with, a Google application, was really invaluable here because it links with Google Earth, and it's one of the few 3D modeling packages that has units of measurement that are actually related to the real world. And you can see here it actually conveniently provides a character that gives you a visual scale. So the first job was to get these to scale, so the sizes were not just in some arbitrary units, but actually did relate to the real world measurements. The other thing is to get these models located correctly geographically. So every model was given a reference point somewhere within the model in terms of longitude and latitude, and then again using facilities in SketchUp. The building was located on Google Earth Maps, and you can see here there's a marker there which shows where the jewellery wall bars were located. And actually here this was a really useful one because the foundations of much of it are still in existence and can be seen here. And in fact, I think when I was first looking at this, the Google Earth Maps hadn't been updated and I hadn't built the car park, and you could see the Vine Street Villa foundations as well, which was very useful. So this was used to geolocate, and you can see here that two-dimensional map is actually now being viewed in a 3D system. And significantly, you can see these curved or semicircular parts to the building. And so that was the model of the building superimposed. So it had to be orientated correctly, scaled correctly, and then the altitude had to be set right, otherwise it would be below the ground in the map, etc. So that was the first job. You can see here I've just done a slight cutaway of this model because you can see even this is retaining a significant amount of detail inside the buildings, and that's particularly important for the baths because the intention is that when you're on the site there you can actually go inside in a virtual way and look around inside the buildings. Okay. The other thing was the artifacts, the models, and before I got involved with the app, a colleague had actually, Dave Everett, had actually taken multiple photographs of some of the artifacts and used photogrammetric techniques to triangulate and get the models. So to illustrate here with one of the artifacts, which is a wall plaster with some graffiti. It's a good job you don't read Latin because I think it's something you might not might not be for public display. But here's the wireframe model obtained. So you can see that is actually very detailed in the number of polygons. So I had to cut that down a bit without losing some of the detail of the models. Then that photogrammetric technique also generated some texture, which looks a bit strange here, but when it's mapped onto the model, it actually maps on correctly. I added to that a normal map, which here, again, is an image that looks quite strange, but what that does is actually creates the appearance of bumps and extra detail in the model. So I added that in as well, just cheating really and generating it from the image on the left. So here's the model that was created. So it's a pretty good representation of the original. And here it is in the app. If I have time, I'll show you in a moment. If not, in the break, I can show you this working. The other thing that I was anxious to do was to make sure, as far as possible, this would be updatable. So I generated an XML, tailor-made XML, to store information here about artifacts and buildings. So you can see here everything's got tailor-made tags. So these can be stored in the computer as a text file or in the device or online as a text file and then updated easily. So significantly here it's got the name of the model, the 3D model, and the longitude and latitude. Now, and the height information as well, relative height information. The longitude and latitude does create a number of problems. One is because the Earth is not entirely spherical, it's a slightly sort of squashed sphere. And also, when we're talking about referencing a virtual world in a 3D space that is essentially flat and local, we need to do some conversion here. So the GPS data from the device is first of all changed to a system called Earth-centered, Earth-fixed. So there's a transformation that has to be done in the device that gives an XYZ coordinate reference to the center of the Earth, which is the origin of this, the 0, 0, 0. The next thing that's done is, you can see here we've got a bit here that is, it's not quite high enough for Leicester, I think, but that shows you a flat tangent plane that is the actual plane that the virtual world has to use as its coordinate system, and that actually is orientated so it uses east, north and up. And there are magnetometers in devices such as iPad and iPhone these days that allow you to get the position relative to north. So that lends itself quite well. So longitude and latitude go through two stages of transformation in order to just get a localized coordinate system here for the 3D, which is ENU for east, north and up. Right, the app itself, well, there's been a number of artists in the Faculty of Art and Design who have worked on producing great graphics for this. This is the splash screen of the app, and there are a number of tabs on the bottom here. And everything here really centers, a bit like Tom's app here, everything centers around a map. And you can see here superimposed over the present day map of the city, we've got the map of the city as it's believed to be in the middle of the 3rd century AD. And you can see here, well, there's actually a slider here, and you can make that more or less transparent so it doesn't get in the way. So zooming here on the area that I was looking at earlier, which is where the baths are, you can see a plan drawing here of where the archaeologists have found, and some of these are quite plain to see nowadays, where the Roman baths were. And when you tap on one of the, get the call out for one of the pins, you can see here, keeping in spirit here, it actually tells you how far away from where you are in stadia. But if you're not so familiar with that, it also provides that in meters. And then to find things when you know what you're looking for and don't want to go via the map, another way to get at the artifacts and building models is to look at a gallery. So here's the gallery display with buildings and artifacts that are included. And there's a trail incorporated in this to make it a bit more fun, so you can follow around the trail. And as you find items in the real world, well, you find virtual items in the real world, you actually get a stamp of the peacock mosaic that you can find in the Jewellery Wall Museum. So it stamps them automatically when you've found them. The other thing to keep in the spirit of this, Laura and I actually had a nice couple of hours picking out things that might form a compass pointer. I'm not sure there's any evidence that the Romans had such a thing as a compass, but we used in the end a penannular brooch that's in the museum to use that as a compass pointer in the app so you knew which way to walk. And also here are some game counters that we used to give you some indication of how far away you were from the item. So as you hunted around looking for these things, they would help you on your way. So you can see them incorporated here in part of the app where we've got the penannular brooch, and that's actually pointing in the direction that you have to walk to find the thing that you're looking for, in this case the Roman baths. And here are the counters using number and a traffic light system to show how far away you are. And then you can flip this to get other information, like a flip card. You can look at a 3D view, and if you're close enough, you can get the augmented reality view of this. So that's the flip view with the detail. There's the bath model, the 3D view. I think if this works, fingers crossed, there's a video clip from the BBC Inside Out programme that demonstrates this.
The Jewellery Wall Museum that visitors can use to bring the bathhouse back to life.
At the moment, it's not completely accurate, but we're getting there. Okay? That's the Jewellery Wall, that's the main entrance.
The plan is to be able to walk around the site and see what was there in Roman times.
If I move my iPad a little bit to the right, those are the jewelry baths, the bathhouse from Roman Leicester. This is so much fun! When you see the things coming to life and you are able to work with them and all that stuff, it's really exciting. You'll be able to walk inside the baths and look how the baths look in the 3rd century where the Romans were here in Britain, and look at the grandiousness of the baths.
Right, very short clip. That was Jerry, by the way. He's worked a lot on the models for this. Oh, I'm being told there's 1 minute left, so I'll try and just very quickly show you if I can get this to work. Right. This is where it will all go wrong. Right, I'm just trying to connect it directly to the iPad, and it's all gone wrong. It's gone sideways. It's okay on mine. Right, hold on. Right, I'm not sure. Right, I'm not sure why it's sideways. Just lie down and it will be all right. Maybe it'll be okay on here. Right, this one doesn't matter too much. I've just gone to the 3D view of the penannular brooch. So you can see here if I just scroll my finger around on this, you get the 3D view of that. So you can, anywhere you are, view in 3D. If you, I don't know why sideways, it wasn't earlier, but over in the top, it's the bottom right corner, but it's your top right, you can see we're too far away from that to actually see it at the moment. But if I move this around, can you see the pointers moving in the direction that we're to go? Right, it's just straight up in the air. No, it's actually that way is the way to find where this penannular brooch was. Okay, and it also had the distance there as well. If I fixed one of these, I hope, so this is going to look crazy if it stays sideways. Suddenly gone okay. I've actually fixed our location, because this augmented reality part only works if we're there. But hopefully the Mithraeum I've fixed in position. So you can see here it's 2.9 stadia in that direction. We're actually not quite close enough, but as I say, fingers crossed, I've fixed our GPS, I've moved it to here. So it's quite a big model. I'm going to run out of talk time while it loads. Right, dum-de-dum. Right, here we are. So we're inside the Mithraeum. So you see if I can actually look round, if I move here, so it's using the gyroscopes and accelerometers in the iPad. So we can look around it, inside it. But the idea, of course, is that we do this when we're actually there. I think with this building you'd have a bit of a problem. You'd have to book a room in the Holiday Inn to do it. So it's just as well. But we can sort of look up, look down, look around using the device. And I'm out of time, so thank you very much. I'll show you later if you want to see. Thank you. No, it's okay. No problem.